to another episode of Teach It Your Way, where we discuss matters impacting the education system and do what we do best, talk. This week, guys, we're going to be discussing classroom management skills and tips that we can use and that we have been using in our classroom. Now, the tips that I'm going to be sharing are, things that I have tried and I have seen results. It is not a one size fits all situation. And so by all means, do what works for you. Now, classroom management can be defined as setting or putting actions to establish and maintain a safe and conducive environment for learning, for teaching also. I think we also forget about the teaching part. An environment conducive for teaching and learning. So I chose this topic to talk about because I find that my first job as a teacher, homegirl had no classroom management. Like the kids, they ran all over the place. They did anything they wanted to do. Drove me crazy. I wanted to just leave the classroom and just quit teaching. I kid you not. That was probably 7 months of hardship that I endured. But I'm still standing and I'm better today because of that experience that I had. So from that job, I was talking to a very good friend of mine. His name is Warren Williams. Big up to you, Lee. I was talking to him. He's a fellow teacher. And I was like, help me, please. I really need to know how I can control these children because I'm talking about like 5 months have passed and I cannot control them. Like, I cannot teach a lesson. I cannot teach a proper lesson. My lesson plan in my evaluation, I had to constantly write in it. Lesson could not be taught because so and so. Now, I know some of you have that experience or had that experience, and I hope for future that this podcast can help some persons not to have that experience because really and truly, it's not a nice feeling. I can't even find the words to describe how I felt as a teacher. I felt ineffective and like I really wasn't doing my job to the best of my abilities. And so Warren was telling me about a number system and I tried it. And what a turnaround. Sometimes we really just have to reach out to more mature persons in the field to find out best practices. Don't be selfish sharing those best practices because you may never know. Somebody out there is suffering like I was suffering. So tip number 1, we're going to talk about establishing class rules. Now, class rules are very important and it is vital that these rules are set the very first day. If not the first day, the second day. If not the first day, the second day. Right in that week, you should be reinforcing it. You should be enforcing and reinforcing these class rules. Now, it's also, very important for you to allow students to be a part of this process. When I was in college, my lecturer told us when writing your rules, try to avoid saying, do not speak, do not sit, do not chew gum, do not run, do not, I'm joking. But try to avoid saying a lot of do nots. And instead of saying something like, do not talk when I'm talking, or do not talk loudly, do not talk out of turns. Instead, say something like, raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. Right? Now, it's very important also to use positive reinforcement. Now, what this is if you find that John is following the class rules and Roy is not, you ask the question and Roy is like blurting out the answers, but John is like this. You want to say something like, oh, I'll take John's answer because he raised his hand. Very good, John, right? So we shouldn't always get stuck on trying to correct a behavior directly by saying, Roy, stop the talking. Roy, don't shout. Roy, don't do this. Roy, don't do that. Right? I hope you're getting the point that we're positively reinforcing our rules by looking at a desired behavior and rewarding that desired behavior. So, good job, John. I appreciate that you raised your hand, John, before you answered a question. I'm happy that you waited to be acknowledged, something along that lines. Now, this is my favorite. And just this week, my student said to me, Miss, you're spending too much money on us. And I'm like, that's true. Let's see how we can fix that. Now, token economy. Now, this is my definition of it. I'm just giving it to you in layman's term. You guys can go ahead and do your research and get all the fancy words. But token economy basically is rewarding the students with a tangible item. Now, in my class or in previous classes that I've had or taught, we had like point system and a treasure box filled with goodies. At the beginning of the year, you can just go on Amazon, type in their treasure box or gifts for kids, and buy like a ton load of them, like 100 items for very reasonable cost. And put it all in a box, call it the treasure box, and you will see how children will work, honey, towards earning the prizes that you have there for them. And also, if you're using like a point system, attach a point based on the type of item. So like this item, I got these at a thrift shop and the kids love them. Like they really do love them. So for this, I would say 3 points to get this. And then you tell them how they can achieve this. You have to be in your seat at all times. You have to use your inside voice. You have to walk in a line quietly. Just make sure that they know what is expected of them in order to earn points, in order to get a reward. And you want to give the bigger reward. The bigger the gift, bigger the item, the more desired it is, or the more the children will yearn for it. So they will work towards getting the maximum points in order to retrieve or receive that token that you have for them. So I really love token economy. And you don't even have to use your own money. Use the parents' money, right? Ask your parents for donations. I have received donations from my parents. My kids, I teach upper elementary, and so they love, their preteens and stuff. I bought some bags on Shein. Honey, everybody wanted those, right? Some bags on Shein, Starbucks gift certificate. That's one of the favorites. Starbucks gift certificate, Book Nook, that's a local bookstore here. Then there's this like, I'm gonna say it's like a big shopping area called Kemana Bay. And so if you get a gift card there, you can use it at any shop within that area. And so the kids love it. Yeah, so you can go ahead, ask the parents. They don't have to give you like a whole lot of items. One item per parent would be very good. So back to something that I was saying about what my friend Lee was telling me, or Warren. He was telling me about a number system. So that is point number 3. So a number system, and I use this to kind of get the kids back, try to get them in control. It was a little late in the school year to really get them to where I wanted them to go, but I really saw a massive, drastic change in their behavior after I utilized this number system. So basically, you just count to 4 or count to 3, and each number represents something that you want the kids to do. 1, they know to raise their hand. 2, stop talking. 3, I'm trying to think on spot, like what I use, but I can't remember exactly what I use the numbering system for, but just 1, like raise your hand. 2, put your hand down, and 3, fold your hand and you're ready to work, right? So I find that works probably for like the lower grades. For upper grades, the kids, or the children, sorry, they're maturing, so they don't really want to raise their hands. They're almost like preteens and almost teenagers. They don't want anybody to see them raising their hands because they think it's very childish, right? So yeah, very weird. But what I do is use countdowns. So I'd probably project it on the board, and it makes like a annoying sound, and they know whenever it reaches 1, or if I'm counting from 1 to 10, whenever it reaches 10, they should be in their seat and ready, or they'll be losing points, right? And if I'm counting down from 10, when I reach 1, they should be ready. And guys, let me tell you, please be careful using this rule, because these children, they will get wild, running all over the place, just trying to make sure that they're at their seats on time. So watch out for that. But it's a very good system. So when I reach 3, when I reach 10, when I reach 1, you should be ready, right? Point number 4, there's also a behavior modification program that I've used, and I know a lot of teachers use it also, and the kids, the children, they absolutely love it. Class Dojo. So go ahead, Google it, try to use it, set it up in your class. What I love about Class Dojo is that you can award students points and you can deduct it. You can award for desired behavior and you can deduct for undesired behavior. And the most beautiful part of it is that when you award a student, the parents are notified. When the children receive or lose points, the parents are alerted also. And so that raises their concern. And then they call and say, Miss Williams, I see that so-and-so lost 2 points for talking in class today. And I'm like, and then we move forward. And then it has all these nice critters and monsters that the kids just absolutely adore. To point number, I'm lost. Is it point number 5? Model the behavior that you would like to see. Model the behavior that you would like to see. So if you tell the children, talk softly or use your inside voice, please don't go out there hollering in the place, vulgar, as a teacher, right? Model the behavior you want to see. If somebody else is talking, you don't talk, right? That's just respect, showing respect. That's just plain manners, right? So if you're talking, I'm gonna listen. I'm going to actively listen. So I model that behavior for them. If they're talking, I'm quiet until they are ready. Now, the final one that we're going to be talking about is making parents aware of good behavior also. And I kind of touched on it when I talked about Class Dojo, but I mean, more, make it more formal. Send home a note, send home an email, give the parents a call in parent conferences. Let them know your child has been doing great, right? Don't just bombard the parents with all negatives. That's never a good idea, right? I don't know which parent wants to hear that there's nothing good about his or her, child. So always strive to say something positive. And even if you have to, put in the negatives in there, try to end on a positive note. You think that Roy has the ability to, you think that he has a potential to behave in this manner. You think that he has a capacity to improve. So those are more calm words that we can use to reassure parents. Now, as I said before, or probably didn't say, but these are things that I use for elementary. I don't know if these would work in high school, but those teachers who teach in high school, you can go ahead and leave a comment down below so we can help other teachers, right? We can help each other. Let me know what works for you in the high school sector, because as I said before, it's not one size fits all. So your strategies might be different than mine. And I don't subscribe to the old way of disciplining children. I rarely punish. So really and truly, I don't subscribe to the old way of doing things where, I shout at the children and whoop them. And really and truly, like now, this generation, they don't take well to harsh treatment. And so we want to try to avoid shouting at the children, screaming at them, what used to work for us back then, it doesn't work now. We can't tell them to put their hands on their heads anymore and books on their heads and hold the air and hold one foot. I used to hate that so much. Like, like, why would you let me do that? Right? I've heard horror stories of back in the days how teachers used to make the students look up in the sun. What? Right? So we want to try to avoid all of those things. I find that the children learn better when you establish a relationship with them from the get-go. So they know how to respect you, but you're also not like their enemy, No child wants to learn from somebody who they don't like. And quite frankly, it's just too tense. It makes the classroom and the class just dull when the kids really don't like you, But I'm not sending you guys out there to be overly nice. You have to try to make yourself firm. You have to be firm, but fair. Firm and fair. So I want to hear what you guys do in your classrooms. Tell me what works for you. Tell me of best practices that you have heard about so that we can try to utilize these in our classrooms if our strategies are not working. And even if they're working, maybe sometimes it's good to just switch it up a little. So I hope these tips helped you today. And I look forward to sharing with you more best practices. Thank you so much for tuning in to Teach It Your Way podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend. And by the time you do that, honey, we'll be over 1,000 subscribers. Okay, so go ahead and do that right now. All right, see you next time. Bye.